kind of sitting there, like, the similarities between the two, you start realizing what's great about storytelling is that there's only so many kind of twists and turns in a broad sense you can do. What becomes fun is finding new ways to twist them, it's to find new ways to do the same tricks and to make them not just feel your own, but feel modern and feel singular and feel like something that no one's ever seen before. Whereas, there's thousands of zombie movies, but, Night of the Living Dead will always kind of reverberate as being the one that brought it all together because it felt like a new twist on something that's been around forever. And that's same with Walking Dead. You can find success in using things that came before, but finding ways to make them your own, make them more personal, make them more meaningful to you, which then makes them more meaningful to your audience. Hopefully.
One thing I wanted to add was, like a lot of us mentioned horror movies influencing our comic books, and I think that's another way to have a fresh spin on some old ideas. Is translating those moments into the comic book medium. So
especially in comics, like, we don't have 2/3 of the tools that you have in film. We don't have sound. We don't have so we can't do the part where the cat makes it freak out. So we don't have sound. We don't have we can't control your pace properly the way that they can in the movie. If you're doing a 22-page comic, you technically only get 11 scares. Like every page turn, technically, but you find ways to do it. That's been for me. That's been the fun part of why so much of my comics are even more.
But I think, despite the fact that we don't have those other two conventions in comics, what we do have is the ability to not worry about a budget. We can imagine anything. We can go big as hell, literally, and the artist draws it for us, and it's you can write something that's unfilmable, and I think that's what's one of the best things about getting to write comic books. But as far as the conventions and scares, I get really excited about things that I've never seen before. I watch and I read as much as I can. And even if I assume that it's going to be garbage, I'll still watch it. My wife wakes up in the middle of the night sometimes. There's some weird stuff on, and she just lifts up, goes, okay, and goes back to bed. There's a movie. See, the thing is, I'm not scared by monsters anymore. There are very few things. I don't know if I burned myself out of it. I'm desensitized, but there are very few things in fiction that scare me anymore. So what really gets me is life. And there's so many scary things about life, and I think if people tap into that, you got me for sure. There's a movie called Trouble Every Day. I don't know if anyone's seen it. It is incredible. It's I don't know if it's a horror film in the conventional sense, but it's definitely a terrifying movie. And it's about one man traveling to Europe with his wife, who he refuses to touch, and it's this strange sort of melodrama that unfolds before you, and you find out at the end that he has this sickness he's trying to cure, and the sickness is this uncontrollable desire, and the way it manifests itself is it's one of the most unsettling things I've ever seen, and that's scary, and that's not. What would you put that in? It's not a slasher, that's not a ghost story, it's not maybe suspense thriller, but it's about desire. And to be able to tap into the aspects of desire that are terrifying, that's cool. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to do.
I think I want to comment just on the conversation about film versus comics, because I work a lot in film and in comics, and have a gap between the two. And one thing that comics has that film does not have is the space between the panels. And I think that's really important because a lot of storytelling is done in those gaps of what you don't see. And I know I told this story last year, so forgive me if you were here, but I think that it really illustrates. When I was in 4th grade, I really wanted to see Silent Night, Deadly Night. And
As you do.
of course, every 4th grader. My mom was like, okay, but your friend, his mom might not be okay with you watching Silent Night, Deadly Night, so I'll watch it with you guys. And whenever it gets really scary, I'm going to hold the newspaper in front of the television so you won't be able to see the murder. So here we are, 2 4th graders watching, Santa Claus coming with the knife. I don't want any spoilers, but Santa Claus is not a cool guy. Silent Night, Deadly Night. And the knife comes out, and the lady's like, ah! And then my mom took the newspaper. And you can just hear screaming, and the knife plunging in, and the sound of blood and everything, and then she takes it away, and like Santa Claus goes back to like making it. And that's way more terrifying than actually seeing the visual dramatization of that. So, and I think that's an important thing in comics, that a lot of times you don't have to show it in the way that a film we're really used to seeing, like the constant visual frame. That's special in comics.
So there are a lot of younger kids in the room that are fans of the Monster High doll line. So obviously there's a little spark of horror interest. What would you guys recommend to the parents and to the younger fans here? What's the next step for horror for them to get a little deeper into it?
Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Only the newspaper cut. The newspaper cut's really
Mine's actually a two-part question for Brandon. What did you use for inspiration for the Doctor and Witch Doctor?
We didn't really answer the first question. It's not really Silent Night, Deadly Night. This is what happens, Zola. This is what happens. You're going to be like, oh, really? Santa Claus?
Writing it down.
Genre, Santa Claus, my game. Blake, oh. I think Twilight Zone is, number one, it's classy, so it's okay, it's not gory. And
it is really, I'm still really disturbed by episode
No,
4
it's- yeah,
that I saw when I was a
it's
kid, so
terrible.
like, yeah, that can be
and they work.
terror at
They-
30,000 feet, like I still have trouble watching them.
They work and they stand up and they're short and they really quickly take you through fantasy, science fiction, horror, suspense, drama. Like they literally do every genre, and then you sort of kind of branch out from there. That's what I think. Like I think Twilight Zone is like the quintessential gateway drug, and now that it's available on board, it's so great.
And streaming on Netflix.
My daughter is a Monster High fan, so my heart goes out to you. We also, in addition to collecting those cute little, and I actually like cute horror too. I mean, it's not just always big house kind of thing. But one thing we're having a lot of fun with my daughter and I is she's doing her own little books, right? She's writing and drawing books like The Vampire and the Cat. And the cat's kind of cute, and the vampire has blood dripping from its teeth. And that's her way of sort of understanding what I do and doing it in her way. And we're really having a good time with it. So don't forget that part.